I like that he passed the American Recovery Act, which added something like 2.5 million jobs within its first year of its being passed.
Oh, and that was hold on there, killer. The American Recovery Act added all jobs that were added in that time as something that was added under the American Recovery Act, which discounted that roughly 1.8 million jobs were added the prior year before without an American Recovery Act. So the premise there is that the economy could not possibly have grown.
Jobs were added during the Great Recession?
Yeah.
Okay.
The problem with the recession is that less jobs were added than were eliminated. And so what Obama did is go, these jobs were added, let's not discuss how many jobs were eliminated. You can't compare, Obama added X number of jobs without...
I don't think the Recovery Act was ever designed to add every single job that was lost, but it was a stimulus at a time when the economy...
So the argument is the economy was already doing a thing, and yet this act was passed that did less of a thing than the prior year, and therefore it was great.
You use you play the pronoun game a lot. No, the argument was that the economy was in free fall because we hit the Great Recession, and the Recovery Act stopped the free fall.
That's literally not what I said at all.
I don't know what you said because you obfuscated it with a lot of pronouns.
No. What pronouns did I obfuscate with?
A thing?
A thing was done.
Your argument was that the Recovery Act did a thing while this other thing was happening, and during this other thing, that's what you were saying.
So once again, we come to there's already a trend line, therefore we enact a policy, and it turns out worse than what the fucking trend line said. But hey, let's claim
the trend line was that we were losing jobs, and then we passed the Recovery Act. The trend line goes the other direction.
No, not at all. We were still losing jobs.
Of course we were still losing jobs. We were in a horrible fucking recession. Hang on.
Well, wait a minute. We were losing jobs and we continue to lose jobs, but this Recovery Act thing made it better.
Added jobs, yes.
Please define.
It created jobs?
That's an abstract point that is irrelevant. Jobs were already being created and you cannot attribute them to the Recovery Act because they were literally being created the year before at a higher rate.
Why can't I attribute it to the Recovery Act? There was an $800 billion stimulus package. You get some jobs out of it.
Already a thing, and if there's a trend line and you pass a fucking bill and the trend line remains the same, then going, let me take credit for the trend line.
You're a statistician's worst nightmare because you have a problem looking at corollary and ascertaining truth to that corollary. You remind me of a person.
So explain me the corollary.
My point is that there's a causation here, that the Recovery Act, that we get jobs from stimulus.
We already had jobs.
Yes.
And we had more jobs the prior year before the Stimulus Recovery Act.
Which is the corollary. That we had jobs the prior year was a corollary.
So we had more jobs the year before the Stimulus Act means that the Stimulus Act created more jobs the prior year. Did it go back in time and say create more jobs?
I said, John.
This is my point. Tell me how this actually worked. The answer is it didn't.
You hire people. Let me tell you how. You want to know how it works? You hire people to repave certain things when private firms can't get loans.
So tell me the statistical relevance of the Jobs Recovery Act. Ready, go.
The statistical relevance. I'm not sure what you're asking.
Well, so if it mattered, if it was a good thing, then it would have created a statistical overall relevance. Did it?
Yeah, I'd say 2.5 million jobs is pretty statistically relevant.
Which was less than the prior year's 3 million jobs.
All right, but during the prior years, we started losing 800,000 jobs a month. You do remember there was a giant fucking recession, right?
Where we lost $2.5 million that there were 3 million new jobs. We did this recovery thing. There were 2.5 million jobs. Therefore, there was a recovery.
Personally, we lost more than 3 million jobs in the recession. All I said was that the Recovery Act added 2.5 million jobs.
And the prior year, 3 million jobs were added.
So and what? Therefore, what does that have to do with anything?
If the average is 3 million jobs were added, and after this act, 2.5 million jobs were added in total, then the answer is it didn't do something beneficial. You
No,
can't be in the middle of a statistical trend line.
You are completely without context. It's actually kind of annoying.
I'm literally arguing context, motherfucker.
No, you're not. You're not.
If the prior year had jobs, jobs added of X,
yes,
and the next year had jobs.
The prior years to measure the economy for 2006 and not 2007, right? This was a job added in 2000 or act passed in 2009. So the prior year is only going to start with a recession. Which meaning that if this were passed by 2010, the unemployment figures would have been higher.
Whoa, wait a minute. You can't already have a trend line that is going down, pass an act where the trend line continues to go down, and go, but it would have been worse if it hadn't continued on current trend lines, which is the argument.
Hang on. White House Council of Economic Advisors estimated that the stimulus saved or created $2.5 million to 3.
Whoa, motherfucker! I didn't ask what White House fucking economists argued. I asked you what the fuck was reality.
Reality was we were losing a shitload of jobs, and then we passed a bill and we created a shitload of jobs.
No, wrong, motherfucker. You're saying no jobs were created because that has to be your argument. And we lost
I
shit.
literally never said no jobs were created. I said,
how could that possibly not be your argument?
I said the exact.
If 3 million jobs were created last year and 2.5 were created this year, and you're saying, but we passed.
Because you're losing the argument. Facts aren't on your side. We hit a recession. We were losing.
You are wrong. You are literally ignoring reality to make your point.
I'm the only one citing economists here.
I don't care what you're citing if it's not government statistics about jobs.
Yeah, the government statistics that undermine your argument. I'm giving you
the ones that I just gave you, motherfucker.
Advisors. I can't hold your hand through this. I can tell you that here's an act. It created this million jobs. How did it do it? It put money where money previously wasn't. So
no, it didn't. What did I just tell you? If yesterday 3 million jobs were created and today 2.5 were created, did that act help?
You're repeating yourself.
Exactly, because you are wrong.
I'm the one citing economists here.
I'm the one citing labor statistics.
Okay, and?
Then I am right.
Dude, are the labor statistics measuring this act in particular?
Yes.
Really? Provide me the labor statistics, please.
Fine. Year of act.
No. I didn't ask for the year of act. I said for this act in particular.
What is the year of the act was put into place?
2009, during the Great Recession. I wouldn't figured I'd have to tell you that was when it happened.
Well, I'm a little drunk.
Oh, fuck, I know it. Went all blood sports here.
Oh, fuck blood sports.
I hate blood sports. Oh, God, Andy Worski's a fucking pathetic man now. He wasn't particularly
Mr. fucking
the mayonnaise problem. Yeah, that mayonnaise thing just reeked of desperation. Like, holy shit.
I have no idea what fucking happened there. Dude, what?
He ate expired mayonnaise. He had somebody else on his stream also eating expired mayonnaise. A really fat, shirtless guy. And, oh, shit. I don't know, man. I don't like JF. I really don't. But part of me wants to say, if JF were there, fuck, that might not have happened. Peak intellectualism here.
Bitch load. God, I hate the government. All right. All right. Fuck.
I fucking hate. This is why I didn't like the Trump White House. The very first thing that asshole did when he got in the government was start deleting shit from government websites.
No.
Yeah, at all. He did that with gay
how
stuff.
Could I get this graph? Right?
Okay, I didn't say he deleted everything. I'm just saying some stuff got deleted, and it's kind of hard to find it now. Like the EPA's had a whole page devoted to climate change that wound up getting deleted. Right now, I'm trying to look up the economic and impact recovery. Economic impact of the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act of 2009. It's a study.
No. Hold on.
Website that is no longer there.
Right. Employment hours and earnings. The current employment statistics survey national. Now,
okay.
You're arguing that in 2009 things happened. Why is that trend line exactly the same?
Stop. 2009, what things happened? Let's be very specific here so we don't talk past each other.
Good.
Again.
What things happened?
What things happened? The American Recovery and Reinvestment Act was passed, and the Great Recession happened.
So that it didn't actually begin to fix itself until mid-2010.
Sure.
So, what's the argument here?
The argument is that we were losing 100,000 jobs a month during the Great Recession. The American Recovery and Reinvestment Act was an immediate stimulus passed to provide money
which
in the
didn't
that would
take effect for 18 months?
No. I think you got it in your head that the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act was designed to get back all of the jobs that the recession lost. It can't.
What are we looking at right here?
I don't know what you're looking at. What I'm looking at was statements from the White House Council of Economic Advisors that stated that the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act saved or created hold
on. The same place that passed a policy said that policy was good, and you think that's a good source.
Oh, I'm sorry. After that whole shit about Breitbart, you don't get to bitch about my sources.
Yes, I literally do.
All right. Yes, I do think the White House Council of Economic Advisors is a good source. It's a council of PhDs who studied economics. And here's what they're saying is the effect of this bill passed.
And they can say that all they want, and they are factually wrong.
Everybody who disagrees with you is factually wrong.
Here's the trend line. It's on the screen.
If you had anything more than trend lines, you'd actually show it to me.
Why would I need anything more than trend lines?
Because all you can do is give me corollaries. You can't. So what? That's unemployment figures during the Great Recession. What does that have to do with anything? Again, let me repeat what I said earlier.
I'm not saying unemployment figures.
What I said. Okay. Employment hours and earnings from the current employment statistics survey. All employees, thousands. It seems like. Okay, so we were gaining employees at January of 2010.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. So we were losing employees between.
If the 2009, which was still in the middle of the downturn, policy had an actual effect, why did it wait almost 2 years to take effect?
Probably because, I don't know, spillover jobs take time. How the fuck would I know? I'm not, again,
because
let me repeat
the actual economic answer is that it didn't.
So I can say something. Jesus Christ. Let me say what I was trying to say because you keep cutting me off. What I'm trying to say is, once again, I'm not arguing that the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act ended the Great Recession. I don't think it could.
So what did it do?
It created again, let me say exactly what I said earlier. It created 2.5 to 3.6 million jobs.
And what jobs were created the year before?
Fuck. I don't know. Whatever jobs were created in the economy the year before. What does that have to do with anything?
Because you can't just say, in absence of all reality, this quantity of jobs were created, therefore that's related to my policy.
Okay. So you can't see a relation between investment in the economy and jobs creation? Because the jobs would have been created anyway, right?
Motherfucker.
Jobs.
Yes, I can see that. However, on the other hand, the simple reality is that is not what happened.
I know. You're an expert on what happened. You're an expert on fucking everything. Economics.
Well, tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me why I'm wrong.
I already did.
Other than I don't believe you, and this one thing happened at X point.
And you won't believe any economist I cite. This is a constant thing with you. Which was the American Council of Economic Advisors, but apparently they're no good. Something tells me if I provide you any other source, you'll say the same thing.
So
any source I provide that undermines your narrative is a bad source.
Because historical reality is what I'm citing.
Historical reality is, firstly, historical reality was we were going through a recession, losing 100,000 jobs a month. We passed a bill, we created 2.5 million. This isn't hard to follow. But, look at the corollary. I mean, I know what you're going to say. You're going to repeat yourself from earlier.
Which is?
Which is that we added so many jobs in the previous year, so this just capitalized off a trend that was already going to happen.
We added 3 million jobs the prior year and 2.9 the next year. Clearly, the policy did not do what was intended.
What was it intended to do?
Create jobs, according to you.
It had created jobs, so it did what it was intended to do.
Motherfucker, if we added 3 million jobs in 2007, and we added 2.5 in 2008, look, the years are irrelevant. The point is...
You just said so. It created jobs.
No. It didn't.
Yes. Yes, it did. You said so yourself. You said if it created...
Are you retarded? If in 2007 the policy did not exist and 3 million jobs were created, and in 2008 the policy did exist and 2.5 million jobs were created, then did it create more jobs than would have been created already?
Yes.
So it created a lower number of jobs were created after the policy was enacted, and yet, therefore, it created jobs.
Yes.
That's retarded.
Yeah, so is leaving out the Great Recession, but hey, whatever.
No one's leaving out the Great Recession.
Well, you are. Right? If it created 3 million jobs in 1 year and it creates less jobs in the next, let me rephrase this. If so many million jobs are added in 1 year and so many less jobs are added the next, it would be logical to assume that's from the Great Recession happening. That we end up creating jobs in that year. Yes, that we end up creating that jobs in that year.
Hold
during
on.
a period of economic downturn would suggest that the bill created jobs.
No, it wouldn't. If there was already
2.5 million jobs.
If there was already a downturn, then the trend would have continued. The continuance of a downward trend would have been the same as it was otherwise. The presumption that there would eventually be no jobs
Where do you even get that assumption from? Where do you get that it would be the same as it would have been otherwise?
No one said that!
You literally just said that. I quoted your words right back at you. What are you talking about?
Where are you quoting my words back at me?
You just said that if the statistical trend was going in this direction, there's no reason to assume it wouldn't have created the same amount of jobs that would have been created otherwise. Something to that effect.
Yes, based on the statistical trend.
The trend was going down. Look at your own graph.
Say
the trend was going down. The Recovery Act's passed. The trend goes up. Right? You want to look at your own graph?
Go ahead. Look
trend
at my
goes down. Bills passed. Trend goes up.
Yeah, except that's literally not what happened.
It is.
Look at the graph.
It was passed in 2000. Right? It was passed in 2009. Where does the trend go from 2009? Does it go up or down?
Did it continue? Or did it immediately switch to 2009?
It continuously went up.
Did it immediately switch to 2009?
Did it immediately? No, I don't think any law takes place immediately. Do you?
Why is it then that the fucking job growth kicks up at an exponential rate at the exact moment that...
Because the Recovery Act worked.
Because the Recovery Act takes office.
Oh, because the Recovery Act was worked. Every job after that was created by the Recovery Act. You didn't know?
That's autistic and fucking...
So is arguing that it didn't create jobs.
It didn't create jobs.
You were arguing contrary to basically every economist who's looked at this fucking thing.
Except no. I'm arguing contrary to every leftist shithead economist who has looked at this. Every right-wing economist agrees with me.
Because they're leftist. Why is it so hard for you to admit you're wrong?
Why is it that as soon as a leftist economist says a thing, you have to assume that I'm wrong?
Because they're experts in their fields and they...
So why isn't Thomas Sowell...
When you get an economics degree, I'll listen to you.
Why isn't Thomas Sowell right?
I don't know. Has Thomas Sowell looked at the Recovery Act?
Yes.
Okay, can you send me what he's written about it? I'd like to read it.
He's got about 3 books on it. Go ahead and read them.
Can you? Okay, so you want me to go and buy a book from Thomas Sowell?
I don't care if you read it or pirate it. By all means, just read basic economics, which does not, in fact, cover this point, but it will tell you why you're wrong.
I have read basic economics. Stimulus isn't hard to figure out. What your every job is dependent on somebody else.
Basic economics by Thomas Sowell.
No, I'm not. I'm saying I've studied basic economics. Everybody has to when they go.
That's not what I said. And therefore,
I'm sorry, I misunderstood you because I didn't know what the fucking name of the book was. What I'm saying is when it comes to macro,
what did I just say? Read basic economics.
Okay, I would love to read Basic Economics by Thomas Sowell. Do I have to buy it, or is there anywhere I can find it online?
There's lots of places you can find it online.
That's what I asked. All right. Would you be willing to trust the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities?
Not necessarily.
I know, because they disagree with you.
I don't care if they disagree with me.
Point.
The question is whether or not they're correct.
2.4 million people owe their jobs to the Recovery Act.
I don't care what the fuck they say. The question is whether or not they're correct. Stop doing this appeal to authority shit and saying I'm arguing with facts.
Yes, they're correct.
No, they are not.
Oh, okay, why aren't they correct?
Send me the study.
Okay. Check the site chat. I'll post it on YouTube as well for all these guys to read it, but I'm sure they'll love to read this.
Lost it.
That's in the YouTube chat now.
I can't. I'm a little bit tarded. I can't find it. Oh, there we go.
I know you are.
Hey, shut up.
Blood sports, man. Blood sports. New Congressional Budget Office report estimates that the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act increased the number of people employed between 0.4 million and 2.4 million jobs as of September. In other words, between 0.4 million and 2.4 million people employed in September owed their jobs to the Recovery Act. This estimate by Congress's nonpartisan economic and budget analyst is more comprehensive than the 400,000 jobs the American Recovery Act
is religiously wrong on nearly every estimate they make.
Oh, it doesn't matter what source I provide to you. If it disagrees with you, it's wrong.
No, I'm citing historical trend versus what they projected.
Trend. Okay. Then can you tell me why what I just provided you is wrong?
Sure. Give me a minute.
This would be like a big deal if you could like write a paper on this and release it, get it peer reviewed, published. You'd be creating some waves. It'd be fucking good shit.
Okay, so they don't actually provide any data here, so no, I can't refute this.
Okay.
Like, I mean, if you don't provide data, then the answer is just literally whatever you said.
They cite the studies,
but they don't.
Hang on. They do. It's in the footnote. What are you talking about? It's
economic.
Right there. Congressional Budget Office.
Economic Advisors?
No. Let me read it for you. Footnote number 1. Congressional Budget Office. Estimated impact of the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act on employment and economic output from July 2011.
I'm sorry, I was reading the wrong page. No, I got you.
Okay. I'm about to call you Devin Nunes there. It's like...
No. That was completely my bad. Fuck!
Okay.
Bitch! I said back.
Okay.
No, that was me arguing with the browser. Nothing. Oh, shit. Motherfucker. Do what I tell you.
This isn't what I'm trying to do. Like, I don't try to make policy, and this is what I want people to understand. I'm not pulling policy out of my own ass. I don't make positions on my own. I find that other people who've studied this and looked at this, and I find what they have to say about it. And these are experts.
What have I told you 100 times?
What, experts are wrong? I don't know what you've told me 100 times. Repeat it 100 more.
Well, let me be clear about this. Partisan studies are, in fact, partisan.
This is a Congressional Budget Office is partisan?
Yes. Well, okay, to be fair, partisan's probably the wrong word. Autistic is probably a much more correct word in the world of fucking... By the way, this is a study from 2011.
only in politics does this ever actually make sense. Where if something disagrees with you that's coming from an expert, you assume motive based on their political.
I don't assume motive.
Nobody does this with doctors and says, I can't trust my doctor. He's a medical insider, right? I know he says I need a new kidney to live, but fuck, he's just getting money out of me. It's asinine to do this with anything else in the world.
Keynesians disagree with Austrian school economics.
Oh, of course they do. Which, hang on, let me point this out to. Hang on. Let me point this out to Dorgan. Very earlier, I said there are certain positions that are right at certain times and positions that are wrong at certain times. If there were an Austrian approach to the Great Recession and it wound up working, and it wound up working, and there was a study to provide that it worked. Okay, will you shut the fuck up and let me finish a sentence, please?
I'm sorry, you're just wrong.
I know. You're always right. Everyone else is always wrong.
No.
It doesn't matter what the experts. Yeah, I know.
I'm citing experts. You just don't like that I am.
You haven't cited an expert yet.
I just said
you said Thomas Sowell, and you said go read this. Okay, can you provide me what I'm supposed to be looking at with Thomas Sowell? Specifically, I want him to look at the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act so I can read what he has to say about it. Right now, I'm reading the Congressional Budget Office. This is the only source. By the way, I'm the only one who's provided sources so far to both of you and John.
Yes, because this is the Trump stream. That's how it works.
Oh, shit, I need some alcohol.
Right? You do. The vast majority of the Drunk Stream audience already knows that Thomas Sowell has refuted the premise of this act, and therefore has said this is what will happen, which, by the way, is exactly what happened, despite what the CBO said, which is not what happened.
So, out of curiosity, when I cite the Cardin-Kruger study on minimum wage, you agree that you're going to say that study's wrong, right?
No, that study is right. Just the fucking various arguments made from it are totally wrong.
Oh, okay. What are the various arguments made from it?
That minimum wage doesn't affect anything negatively.
I don't remember if that's... I don't know who's claiming that, but I think the only claim I've ever made about the Cardin-Kruger study was that it didn't adversely affect unemployment where it was studied.
Which is wrong.
I'm pretty sure... Hang on, let me look at the Cardin-Kruger study.
Cardin-Kruger study discussed all unemployment in the area as opposed to unemployment relative to whatever limited section it discussed, right?
Well, wouldn't you be trying to discuss... The whole point of that study was there were two areas to study, right? One area raised minimum wage and the other didn't. Of course you're going to study what's in the area.
No. The areas that it studied were fast food and restaurant service.
Okay, so it studied a very specific... Okay.
No one else gets paid minimum wage besides fast food and restaurant service, correct? Restaurant service, which explicitly is exempt from minimum wage and is permitted to pay X plus tips.
So, out of curiosity, now that we've moved on from that, the David Card study on the Mario boat lift, you've heard me cite this one before, right? As evidence that when migrants come into an area and they provide a supply shock on labor, that it actually helps the economy?
It doesn't actually.
I know. David Card, who studied it, said, hey, and by most economic metrics...
What did David Card study?
The David Card study on the Mario boat lift.
Which was?
So the Mario boat lift was an incident where you had some thousands upon thousands of Cubans suddenly arrive in the Miami area. And these were economic refugees fleeing from Cuba. So we had a sudden supply of labor just swarm into an area, and it was a chance for them to look at what happens when you get a bunch of new labor coming to an area that is uneducated, low skilled, all that good stuff. And what it did
what about the economy as a whole?
It lowered the cost of labor, which allowed for businesses to make different investments elsewhere.
Whoa! It lowered the cost of labor. That means we shouldn't have a minimum wage.
Okay, an argument could be made for that. People do make that argument, but that's neither here nor there. What I'm saying is David Card studied. What I'm saying is David Card studied what a supply shock in labor looks like from economic migrants, and it wound up helping the local economy. Do you agree with this study?
No.
Of course not.
You want to know why? Because it is very limited scope, and this is how I want to prove what it is that I already
Very
came to.
limited scope. What else are you going to... I mean, he looked at what the entire economic effects were. How this affected labor, how this affected low-skilled workers, how this affected the cost of labor. I mean, what else does he need to look at for you? He looked at unemployment, right?
Hold on there, Killing. A massive influx of immigrants is going to lower the cost of labor. It's going to probably increase unemployment to some degree or another. Just simple. There are more people and jobs don't immediately spawn based on those numbers.
Yeah, I think the study mentioned this as much, but it wound up being evened out by the increase in the supply of consumers as well. You wound up having different different positions open up because you have new consumers, which create new demand, or something to that effect. I used to have the study, but it's behind a JSTOR paywall now, and I don't have my JSTOR access because I
don't need the study. You notice how I'm just telling you the effects, right?
Okay.
And you are agreeing.
Sure.
Even though I don't have a PhD and I'm not an economist.
Right, but you're saying the same thing David Card said. If you were saying something different than David Card, it would be worth wondering why you're saying something different from an expert.
And then we need to get to the end result, right? Because there are lots of things to talk through about why this does or does not benefit the economy, right?
I already explained it, because it lowered the cost of labor.
So it lowered the cost of labor, which cannot be a thing if there's a minimum wage.
Okay.
So then get rid of the minimum wage.
Sure.
Good. I'm glad we agree that the Card-Kruger fucking study does not matter because getting rid of the minimum wage is beneficial.
Well, I don't know. Have we ever studied what getting rid of the minimum wage would look like?
Yes.
When have we studied this?
The 50s, 60s, and 70s.
Can you please tell me a study to look at specifically?
You're gonna have to go look at fucking Soul.
Yeah.
Who cites a wide variety of studies.
Let me read you something. Immigrants are less likely to commit serious crimes or be behind bars than native-born.
I don't care.
Immigration are associated with lower rates of violent crime and property crime. This holds true for both. Let me read it and shut the fuck up. This holds true for both legal immigrants and unauthorized, regardless of the country of origin or level of education. In other words, the overwhelming majority of immigrants are not criminals by any commonly accepted definition of the term.
What does that have to do with what we're talking about?
I'm going to tell you. This is a study from the American Immigration Council about criminalization within immigrant communities, which is to say, immigrants commit less crime than native-born workers. Than native-born citizens. Do you agree or disagree?
What does this have to do with anything related to what we're talking about?
I'm trying to walk through a process.
Please let me define non sequitur by everything you've just said.
Oh, it is a non sequitur. I'm trying to drive you to a point that it doesn't matter what the expert says. You're going to disagree with it, and then you're going to say they're wrong. Whatever study I have.
Why would I do that?
Because you've been doing it all day. Because if it supports your
narrative...
Why
would I be agreeing with a study that I've never read up till the point that we stopped talking about the study if I disagreed with the fucking...
Let me hear you say this then. You agree that immigrants commit less crimes than native-born citizens?
I have no idea. And neither do
I just read to you. I just read it to you. I do know.
That is a study that argues it knows what it doesn't know.
Okay, so the study can't know. I mean, this is perfect. It doesn't matter what I tell you. Whatever evidence I have to back up my position.
Hey, stop. Am I wrong?
Are you wrong? Yes, you're wrong.
How am I wrong?
Because I have experts. I have experts who've looked into this.
So your argument is...
What you say, therefore you're wrong.
So your argument is appeal to authority, therefore I'm wrong.
Yes, you have to appeal to authority in these circumstances.
You literally don't.
You literally agree in this unless you are an expert of your own that you can count. I mean, you're not qualified to is the problem.
So your argument is literally appeal to authority and shut up.
I already said so. Yes.
So
I'm
how
perfectly
do
fine
these?
with
So how do these people know what they don't know?
Go read their methodology. I'll link you to this damn study.
All right.
The point The point wasn't the content of the study. What I was trying to walk you through was that you have a problem with your own confirmation bias.
I literally don't. I'm arguing that they know what they say. They say they know what they don't know. And your argument is, but they don't because reasons. Are we talking American Migrant something Council org?
Yeah, American Immigrant Council.
It says I have to forward. Criminalization of immigration in the United States. Is that right?
Yeah. Immigrants are less likely to be criminals than the native born. It says it right there at the top of the headline, and you can read certain bit stats on it.
Enemy tank spotted. Over.
And again, if you want to take issue with their methodology, I encourage you to write your own paper, get it peer-reviewed, submit it to a journal. I'm only giving you...
Why do I need to do all that to be correct?
Because you have no... There's no reason I should trust that you're correct. That's why.
Oh, so the simple fact that other people have done bad studies means that you should agree that they are correct, regardless of whatever arguments I make, despite whether or not those arguments are made against other studies by PhDs.
Bitch from the Channel 4 interview with Jordan Peterson. Everything I say, you have to reframe it in some way. You're not.
I'm not reframing shit. I'm asking you a straight question, motherfucker.
Well, the answer is I don't have to trust you. The answer is I don't.
I don't have to trust these motherfuckers either.
Okay, then don't.
In which case,
you don't trust them. All I can do is provide you the data that supports my arguments.
So why is it that I can pick apart these studies like any average monkey that knows what statistics are? And yet, the answer is, but they have PhDs.
Yeah, that kind of makes a world of difference in how credentialed you are. Right?
Does it? So it's not whether or not you're right. It's whether or not you have a PhD.
How would I know you're right? How would I know you're right?
Because you can actually read the information and check to see whether or not they're false based on the counter's...
Read the information from...
Do you realize that you are in fact a person who can read and understand?
Yes, I do, and that's why I'm asking. Read the information from who? Who specifically do I need to read the information from?
The people that you are giving the information from. You take their word simply because they're a PhD. And under that circumstance, there are anywhere between 3 and 5 million.
Let's live in a world where I disagree with them. Now who do I go to for information? And why do I believe that?
In this world, there are anywhere between 3 and 5 million fucking defensive uses of firearms per year because a PhD said so. Right?
Yeah. Which is why I wouldn't contest those numbers.
You have contested those numbers.
No, I didn't. I said the Congressional Research Service contested those numbers.
But they were wrong.
Okay. Take it up with the Congressional Research Service then.
So the Congressional Research Service didn't actually provide numbers. They just went, that study's wrong.
So, just out of curiosity, why should I trust Lott's study? You're citing Lott, right? For the 3.5 million number?
That would be the correct study, yeah.
So why would I trust Lott over the Congressional Research Service?
Why wouldn't you?
Well, I don't know, should I? You're the one who keeps contesting every fucking source. You tell me why I should believe
You're arguing appeal to authority. I am not.
You're arguing based on your own confirmation bias, and that's what I'm trying to get you to understand.
Jesus Christ. No, I'm not. And I understand that you don't understand this because it's like arguing with children. But there is a reality that, like, your study is bad for these reasons. Therefore, stop using it.
All I keep doing is giving you source after source after source, and you keep saying, well, they're wrong. That is pretty childlike.
Is it just that I say they're wrong, or do I tell you why they're wrong?
You haven't told me why any of them are wrong.
You're literally lying. We're done here.